Hello everyone, my name is Ateeq. Welcome to our ProtaSteel webinar. I'm going to be taking you through today's proceedings. I am the ProtaSteel Development Manager, and we'll be talking about ProtaSteel during the next hour or so. So let me give you a brief introduction about what we're going to be talking about. We'll be talking about the Prota Group, Prota's software solutions, and some of the references of the company. And in the end, obviously, the main event today is the live demonstration of the ProtaSteel software. So Proto was founded in 1985. It is now a leading global software development, engineering, and consultancy group with a specialized professional approach to project design. There are several companies here. There's Proto Software, there's Proto Engineering, there's Proto Computer, there's Proto Architecture, there's Proto Asia, Proto of companies specializing in both engineering and software development. So let's talk about Proto Computer first. Proto Computer is the largest platinum partner of Autodesk company in the Middle East and Eastern Europe. It's a direct provider, trusted advisor, and training center for multidisciplinary technical software and BIM solutions. It's got 70+ employees, and Proto Engineering is one of the largest and most prestigious engineering and consultancy firms in Turkey. It's completed numerous large-scale projects in more than 20 countries around the globe. It's got over 300 engineers and architects. What you're seeing over here is a map of where Proto Software stands now. As you can see, there's the headquarters in Turkey, there's the large office in Asia Pacific, and other branch offices, and then you see all the partners all over the world. So as you can see, these are very dynamic times. We're expanding as a company, and you can see the effects of that. This is a slide which is basically taking you through the history of the group. It started off in 1985 when the Proto Group was founded. You can see the main milestones on the map. I would just like to mention that Proya joined the Proto Group, became a strategic partner with them in 2018 when we joined hands, and we are collaborating in the preparation of the ProtaSteel software, which we are going to be talking about today. So Proto Engineering, fields services, building design, transportation, industrial and engineering and energy sectors, high-rise buildings, earthquake and seismology, historical structures, basically the whole spectrum. And here are some of the selected design and consultancy references. You can see the Istanbul New Airport and the bottom left. This is the largest airport in the world, the Warsaw Metro Line, Istanbul. All these are international projects, all these are large-scale projects. And what I guess we want to emphasize over here is that the Proto Group is not just a software development group, but it also has a very strong background in engineering projects. So we're not just developing software without really using the software ourselves. And so being a first-hand user, we know exactly what is needed by the engineers, and so that's what we produce. The ProtaStructure suite is on your screen right now. It's the ProtaStructure program, Proto Details, ProtaSteel, and Proto BIM. We'll be talking about ProtaSteel today mostly, but just to remind you of the other parts of the suite, ProtaStructure and Proto Details. ProtaStructure, as you know, is focused is structural BIM design solution for concrete and steel buildings. What needs to be remembered is it's very flexible. It's both 2D and 3D, and what's important, it's multi-material. So you don't need to go to separate programs to model your concrete and then do a different program to model your steel. It's all done within ProtaStructure, and it's a full analysis and detailed design package, full design reporting and quantity takeoff, and links with it. It has links to Proto Details and ProtaSteel. ProtaSteel is the software which we will be talking about today, and then BIM links with Revit, Structure, and IFCs. So that's ProtaStructure. And the main benefits, why would you use ProtaStructure? It's the ease of use and maximum productivity. I mean, obviously, the times we're living in, there's a glut of software, and every software claims to do everything, and they do most of the time. but the question is, how do they do it? How much time do you need to spend to get a certain thing done? And if the difference between a software and another software is a lot, then obviously that's what makes the difference, because this is of man hours. So our main emphasis is on maximum productivity and ease of use. That's what makes it a much better product than its competitors. ProtaSteel is, like I said, what we'll be talking about today. It's automated connection design and steel detailing of your projects. It's totally integrated with ProtaStructure. We'll be talking about some of the main features like Intelli-Connect and some of the design reports and the wide range of connections, etc. Obviously, in a seminar like this, it's impossible to go over all the features. All we want to do is just to get you excited about the main capabilities of the program, so that you can see what you can do with it and take it from there. So ProtaSteel, today's webinar, what do we mean connection design and steelwork detailing? What we mean is the full transfer of your ProtaStructure model to ProtaSteel, including all your analysis results. So once you're done with the ProtaSteel model, you will not have to remodel the structure in ProtaSteel again. You will just transfer the model, including the analysis results, into ProtaSteel and just start doing the detailing. It's integrated intelligent connection design using a comprehensive range of flexible connection macros. We'll be talking about those in a minute. Automated steel connection design using our revolutionary Intelli-Connect to instantly create constructable arrangements with these. We'll be talking a lot about this. You'll see it's a fascinating feature. It's one of the features which no other software has at the moment. Full connection design reporting with step-by-step calculation documentation. We'll be talking about this as well, and you will see that this is a feature which is normally a separate program. It's none of the competitors, none of the programs which are offering this kind of capability are offering a full connection design reporting built into the program itself. Usually these programs are sold separately. I'll be talking about that part but what you need to know is that it's entirely integrated, and there's a lot in it. Creation of complete steel detail drawings to quickly deliver your projects. These are for the consultancy companies who need to prepare the connection drawings, local details of particular points which are important to pass over to those people who are going to produce the shop drawings. We'll be going over those as well. And finally, extending your steel detailing capabilities down to shop drawing production, assembly details, and even full cutting lists. This is for the full-blown user who wants to actually produce shop drawings for the manufacturers, for the fabricators. So there's a lot, as you can see, to cover, and hopefully we'll be going through the main features in a while. So let's see it in action. So like I said, what is ProtaSteel? ProtaSteel is a steel detailing solution. As you can see on the screen, as you have a little view of a detailed model, and I can zoom in to see what it is like. As you can see, all the bolts, all the plates, all the welds, all the elements, all the cuts have been modeled directly in. So the purpose of the program is to leave nothing unmodeled, to go through to take the model from ProtaStructure and take it to ProtaSteel, and then model all the connections in ProtaSteel. And then once you have the model, once you have the model connected, what you can do with it is you can create your shop drawings from there. You can create your connection drawings from there. You can take material takeoffs, etc. So that's what we'll be talking about today. So let me begin by opening the model on which I'm going to show you most of the features. Okay, so the program is all about detailing. The program is all about connecting. So obviously we need connection macros. We need fast methods to connect the steel. So let's begin with some of the simpler connections. We've got a range of connections over here. You can see on the top of the screen. These are all the connections which are available. And don't be misled into thinking that there are not so many, because in ProtaSteel, most of these connections are multi-faceted, and they can handle multiple situations, as I'll show you in a minute. For example, if I were to talk about the Purlin connection, you can see there are different types of connections which are all built into the same connection. So I'm going to choose the angle type with the reverse cleat over here right now. And I'm just going to show you. All you need to do is just pick the main beam and pick the purlin, and there you have the connection. It's as simple as that. There's nothing else you need to basically click the elements which are related, and there you go. Your connection is ready. It's as simple as that. And as you can see, as I just showed you a while ago, the options you have are many. You can change the type of the connection right from within the macro. You can go to a completely different connection, and normally programs would have all these features as different icons. So all these angle type, the bracket type without cut, the folded plate type, the same, all these would be different icons, but that'll just create a clutter on the screen. But over here, what we have is you can just connect it as you go. I'm going to talk about over here on the left. You have. Let me just go over the list of macros first. So you have beam to beam connections. You have beam to column connections. You have the stiffen end plate connection. You have the beam to connection. You have a fin plate connection. You have the angle cleat connection. This is for the fixed beam. You have the beam to column stiffen end plate connections, beam to column end plate connections. You have the moment connections over there, the haunch connection, the directly welded connections, the flange plate moment connection, which is very commonly used, and you have the extended end plate connection, and then you have all your bracing connections for the vertical braces and the horizontal braces and the trusses, and you have the welded gusset connections and the welded corner gusset connections. Then you have connections for the purlins and the splices, and there's a whole lot which we can talk about, but let me just quickly take you some of them over here. So for example, if we were talking about the gird connection over here, let me go back to this particular connection and change the type and use the bracket type without cut, which is more appropriate for the girds, and just show the column, show this gird, show the other gird, and that's it. Reverse this. I don't want to make it hang from the top, so I'll use the reverse create option, and there you go. So as you can see, with a few clicks, I'm able to model my connection. Previously, we didn't have the welds in 3D. As you can see now, we have the welds in 3D, so it's easier to see your welds, and that makes it a lot easier to visualize them. In a similar way, you can continue connecting. For example, this point over here can also be connected with the same one. So whether there are two girds coming in or a single gird coming in, the same macro will be used to model it. Now let's go over the splice. Obviously, every program, every model is going to have areas which you will need to splice. So let's just go over that. Just by a few clicks, you are able to splice the connection. Let's go over some other columns. It's as easy as clicking, and I'm going to show you an even easier way in a while. But for the moment, you can see on the screen that it's extremely easy to connect. Now let's talk a bit about the floor. It's obviously one of it's the major part of the connections. We have large floors in our buildings, and these floors can be connected in different ways. We have different options. For example, we can have a stiffened end plate connection. So I can just go and connect this main beam and this secondary beam, and there have a stiffened end plate connection. And it's a very commonly used connection. It's one of the best connections as far as ease of erection is concerned. It's slightly eccentric, but it's also very useful for other reasons. Then we have the beam-to-beam end plate connection. So for example, if we have this beam and this beam, and we can have an end plate connection, which is different from a stiffened end. Or what we can do is we can have a fin plate connection. We can have a connection like this. So all these are options which we can use in our floors, and obviously all of them have their own merits, and depending on what we want to do, we can use them very easily. What I want to say over here is that all these connections are being designed as we go. So that's one of the most important features which we'll be talking about in a while, but I just want to emphasize that as we go along, that normally the biggest amount of time which we lose, for example, when we are connecting, is that all these macros have a lot of input, and all these numbers have to be inputted theoretically, and that's a lot of input. I mean, anybody with not too much experience in the field of steel will find this pretty overwhelming to enter that much information to get a properly designed connection. But with ProtaSteel, the advantage which you will not find in other softwares is that these connections are being designed according to the loads which have been transferred from ProtaStructure. So, for example, I'll do a little complicated example over here. Let's go and connect this column with this beam, and this is a haunch connection, and it's got the top stiffener and the bottom stiffener, but I want the middle stiffener as well. So I just go inside and I go to my figure and I add the middle stiffener. So now I have the middle stiffener as well. Now I go on the other side, and on the other side I have another beam coming in, and this beam needs to be connected. But now these two stiffeners are creating a problem. They're getting in the way of the connection. So I'll show you a feature which is very useful. I just select the column, select the beam, and I say that I want to use these existing stiffeners from the other connection as part of my connection, and there you go. So what you're seeing is a very complicated joint with a haunch on one side and a stiffen end plate connection on the other side, which have worked together, as you can see on the screen. And with a few clicks, we've been able to connect them. I showed you the floor beams, the haunch connection, the connection from the other side. I can show you how the fin plate is connected, how the stiffen end plate is connected. Let's do a bit of the bracings. For example, these are the vertical bracings. All you need to do is just show the beam and show this vertical bracing, and there you go. Your connection is done. Let's do a bit of the trusses, for example. Let's go over the trusses. So for the trusses, all I need to do is choose a welded gusset connection, and I need to choose the bottom cord. These are the secondary elements, and my truss is connected. This one is connected as well. This is connected as well. As you can see, I'm just clicking on the elements, and the connections are being made. What about over here or over here? If I come to this point, what I can do is I can quickly use this macro over here and connect the truss. So very quickly, as you can see on the screen, I can go about making my connections. Let's do a bit of base plates. So for example, this is one feature I want to talk about quickly and then move on. Let's do a base plate, and it's the same macro as you will see, but there's a difference between this column and this column. And the difference is that this column has a fixed base. As you can see, all the releases have been fixed, whereas this column has a hinge. So the rotations are allowed. The program will automatically detect this, and while I'm using the base plate, this column, it's going to produce a fixed connection. But when I use the same macro on the hinged column, it's going to produce the hinge connection depending on the condition, the end conditions of the column. So these kinds of presets, which I'm not going to be talking much about today because we don't have much time, but what you can do with ProtaSteel is you can actually create company presets for all different types of profiles, and then basically just start clicking away with these intelligent macros. Because you'll have the company presets in the background. They will be intelligent. They will realize which profile you're talking about. They'll realize what structural condition exists, and they'll know the loads. And all you will need to do is just point and shoot. The other programs, if you actually sit down and compare, what you will see is that the majority of your time is spent on entering the data. This is no exaggeration. The majority of the time is spent on all these numbers on the screen. There's so much to input for each and every connection. So normally, even if you were well experienced, you would spend about 5 to 10 minutes entering a single connection. But once you have the loads from ProtaStructure, once you have the company standards set up, and once you have the company presets set up, it becomes extremely easy to make these connections. And of course, it's not just structural connections. You can go ahead and okay, let me just continue with this a bit. So we had a base plate over here, and what you can do is you can add the anchor bolts, for example. So you can select this base plate and you can add anchor bolts to that. and then you can double click on the anchor bolt and say I want a different angle on that, and you can turn it to whichever direction you want, and very easily you have your anchor bolts fit in. Obviously, and this is not the only type which is supported. You can have different types of anchor bolts, the C type, the simple type, which you can add in your there's a background file which you can change and modify the different types. So those are very easy. And let me come back to the non-structural connections for a bit now, so that you can see the wide variety of things I'm talking about. But before I do that, let me quickly, yeah, let's do this. So let's say we have a floor which is has both concrete, has a concrete top on it. So we can add the studs extremely easily, as you can see. Very easily, I'm just going to add the studs. So it was as simple as that. Now let me go ahead and add some handrails, just to give you an idea. Let me just add a handrail over there. Let me just add a handrail over here. And let me add a handrail on that beam. And once the handrails are added, you might think connected to each other. They're at a distance. They shouldn't be like this. So we have something which you just showed, that this handrail needs to be connected to this handrail. And there you go. Even the pipes are connected. The bottom, the toe plate and the knee plate, they're all connected. Let's join these two as well. I need to go to the other side to see it better. Yeah, just go to the other side and go to my connection, and I say this handrail needs to be connected to this handrail, and there you go. So the knee rails, the knee plates, and the toe plates are all connected. So like as you can see, it's not just structural connections, it's the non-structural connections as well, which can easily be modeled. What about if we had some checkered plate on this? So if I were to have a checkered plate on this, for example, if I were to say this beam, this beam, this beam, and this beam, and right click, I can immediately produce a checkered plate flooring on, and that's as simple as that. I can go on and copy them around as well. So what I want to emphasize over here is not want to take too much time, that these connections are extremely easy to use, and they shouldn't overwhelm you at all. Now I want to move on to the next feature, which is the connection reports. So let me just open this model again so that I can take you through that. Yeah. So what is the need? Where is the need for that? Obviously, for all the consultancy companies, they want to connect their models, but they also want to produce the connection reports, the connection design reports for the client for approvals. And normally, I talked about this in the beginning as well. Normally this takes a lot of time, and normally this not only is it very time consuming, you have to use dedicated software for this, and those kinds of are not cheap. You have to spend thousands of dollars for each license just to get this feature of being able to produce the connection reports. Now let me just show you, for example, over here. Let me do a quick haunch connection over here, and let me connect this column to this beam. And what I want to show you is that there's a color coding scheme which I want to open right now. It's over here under the views menu. When you open it, everything turns white. Everything turns white except for the connections which have been checked. And if the connection is green, what it means is that everything worked. Nothing has failed. And if the connection is not green, if it is red, that would mean that something inside the connection has failed, whether it's a bolt or a plate or a weld or whatever, but then you have to go inside the report and see. So let's go inside this report. What all you need to do is select the macro and say, I want to see the default connection report in this case. And the report is ready and the background, and as you can see, this is a full-fledged report with a picture on top. It gives all the input information in the beginning, and then it starts the checks, the geometric checks in the beginning, and then actually the stress checks, and they're all passing. There's nothing has failed. Green color means everything has passed. If you see something red, then something has failed. So let's make something fail. For example, if I were to reduce the thickness of this. Maybe that will make it red. Yeah, okay, so I reduced the thickness of the stiffness, and there's a buckling of the stiffness going on because of the heavy moment loads. And let me report now. And now when we go through the report again, we see that a lot of it is still green, but we have something failing. The stiffener, the intermediate stiffener has failed, and it hasn't failed by much, but it's failed. So as you can see, it's extremely useful to just use this feature as it is, and you can produce. You can visually see immediately whether the connection is green or red. You don't need to worry about the green ones. You just keep on clicking and making your connections. Whenever you see something red, you stop. And what I can tell you is that in most of the cases, if it is red, it will be a very minor thing, because we are in the background, we are doing a basic guideline design to begin with. So most of the major checks are usually completed before you do it. So even when you see something, let me just show you a flange plate moment connection over here. Let's see if this is the one. Yeah, so let's connect this column with this beam. Yes, so that's coming out red. And let's go on the other side and see what the problem is. There we go. And once again, you will see that the major checks will all be passed, and there could be some minor failures with the stiffener sometimes. And all these can be bypassed by the company standards. By the way, you can input your company standards, and they will help you. So you see some stiffeners failing at the end. So obviously this has a pretty simple solution in all probability. Let me just go to that. Go back to the macro. And I think it could be this one. I'm not sure, but let's see. Yeah, so I increased the stiffness size, and now everything is green again. So this feature is incredibly powerful. I did another one for the stiffen end plate, and I deliberately increased the load extremely high so that it would fail. And then I wanted it to fail just to show you what will happen. So I'm going to connect this with this. It's red because the load is extremely high. I've just made it extremely high. And I know in this case it's the bolt which is failing. The bolt stresses are very high. So let me show you that in a minute as well. Yeah, let's quickly go through this, and yeah, there you see shear resistance is causing the problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, I know this is an M16 bolt. I'm going to change it to an M20 bolt. So I'm going to go to the bolt assembly, and I'm going to change the diameter of the bolt to a 20mm bolt, and there you go. So it's as simple as that. You just make the few changes which are required. You either change the bolt size, or change the plate thickness, or change the weld size whenever needed. And like I said, in 99% of the cases, they will be avoided because it's already doing the design according to the loads and your company standards. I deliberately made a few things fail over here just to show you what it looks like, so that the whole thing becomes clear. Now, what we have the reports for right now is all your floor beam connections, all your column beam connections, whether they are simple connections, whether they are moment connections, they're all covered. And not only that, we also have, if we were to connect this truss over here, this is the bracing connection, and over here also we can just open the report quickly and see that the bracing connection has a full report attached to it. There you go. This is a very exciting feature. I wanted to go into it in some detail. Obviously, we don't have much time, but what I want to reiterate at this point is this feature is sold separately for thousands of dollars, which you're going to get as a part of your ProtaSteel and this is going to make your work extremely easy. So we have, let me just summarize, we have all your bracing connections, we have your bolted bracing connections, we have your welded bracing connections, we have your column moment connections, column simple connections, floor beam connections. All of them have their reports ready at this point in time, which is basically all you want, your sag rod reports or your Purlin and Gert reports, although they'll be coming in down the line as well. But all the major connections, like your base plates, like your floor beams, like your simple column to beam connections, like your moment connections, like your splices. So let me just do a quick splice over here. Sorry. There you go. That's a green splice, and you can go inside and you can see the report as well. All these are available on the fly, and this will basically save you a lot of time and a lot of money. As you can see, all your tests, all your geometric tests are there. It's a beautiful report. You can just print them out all together in one go at the end. You will have your entire analysis regarding these connections done. Now, I want to move on because we don't have much time. I want to move on to a very exciting feature, which is what we call Intelli-Connect. And Intelli-Connect is basically, let me just go to this. Yeah, there we go. So Intelli-Connect is a feature, like I told you how easy it was to connect the steel, make the connections. It's as simple as point and shoot. You have the loads, you have the company presets, you just basically pick the elements and there you go. But some of you might think, well, even that takes a lot of time in a building like this. It's going to take me probably a day or two to just go over all the connections one by one. So what I want to show you now is a revolutionary technology, which we call Intelli-Connect. And this, what it does is it works on a node by node case. It'll look at this node, analyze it. It will look at, for example, this node, analyze it and see what it looks like. It's got a connection coming in from here. It's got a connection coming in from that side. It's going to look at this node over here. It's going to say it's got a fixed connection coming in. It's got two simple connections coming in from those sides. It's got a vertical brace coming in, and it'll try to decide what a good engineering solution can be for those points, and it's going to make that solution for you. So I just want to show you some of the cases are very simple, like the Purlins and the Gerts are pretty simple. But some of the things are extremely complicated, like the ones I just talked about, like a place where you have a column, you've got beams coming in from all sides, you've got vertical braces. This is a place where you have 8 different connections going in. And if you use some of the features which are available in other programs, which are usually called Auto-Connect or something, you will see basically everything clashing with everything, because the haunch plates will be clashing with the stiffen end plates, and the bracing will be clashing with this. You'll basically have to delete it and do it all over again. So we're going to take you through this revolutionary technology, which is called Intelli-Connect, and show you how it works. So how it works is extremely simple. All you do is you select all the building. Well, obviously you don't have to do that. You can do it partially as well. But you select the building, and you make sure you select the nodes as well, because like I said, these little blue, these little dots, those are the finite element nodes, because it works on a node by node cases. So you make sure the nodes are open, are visible, and then you select them. And once you select them, all you need to do is right click and go to the Intelli-Connect menu. And once you go to the Intelli-Connect menu, let's say you want to connect all the Purlins. Now there are maybe about 30, 40 different Purlins, and some of you might be thinking that's going to take me an hour to connect. So just go to the Purlin connections, and you have all the different features. Now over here, you don't even have to learn how the macro works. Let's say you prefer the angle type. The cleat in this direction, but you want to reverse the cleat so it looks like this, and you want to connect all the Purlins. So all you do is, there's another feature here which is for the end Purlins. You can extend them if you want. I'm not going to extend them right now, but you can. But you just say run, and now it's going through the model. It's checking each node, and it's trying to find out which nodes have Purlins on them. And then it's selectively taking those nodes, using the Purlin connections with the particular settings which you gave it, and it gives you a list of what it managed to do. Now, in some cases, it will not be able to perfectly finish the job. But over here it says, look, I found node number 282583. I was able to connect it. I found node number 2584. I was able to connect it. So basically, just quickly go through this, and if you see something which is not done, you can modify that by hand later. But let's go and see what it's done. So you can see very quickly that all the purlins connected, and exactly the way we wanted them to be connected. Now I want a different connection for the girts. So let me just select the whole thing, right click, Intelli-Connect, and go for the girt connections. But this time I don't want the angle cleat, because the angle cleat, you need a very large angles for this. I want to prefer this bracket type without cut, and I just want to go with that. So I just say run, and now it's looking for the whole, going through the whole building, finding the girts wherever they are, whether they're single-sided or double-sided. It's going to decide itself whether it's and let me go through this quickly again, so everything is hopefully done. Yeah. So the single-sided ones have been connected with a single click, and the double-sided ones have also been connected. So it not only does it pick up the node, it also picks up the configuration of the node. Let me just continue. I mean, this is extremely powerful. This is very useful. This is very it really reduces the for somebody who's afraid of 3D steel modeling. Let me choose the whole building again, and let's say I want to connect the sag rods. The sag rods are quite a headache, as most of you will know if you've ever done steel detailing. But let me just go through, and this time, because there's a standard procedure for those, is it just starts the connection. Okay, so we're good, hopefully. There are some of them which were not connected, which I'll talk about in a minute. But look at these. All the holes in the girts have been made. Wherever the sag rod is passing, there's a hole in the girt, and whenever we have a different type of connection, that has also been connected. Only these ones have not been connected, which then need to be done manually, because they're a different type which was not available to the Intelli-Connect feature at this point. Next, let's select the whole building again and do a right click, go to the Intelli-Connect menu, and say I want to do the splice connections. Now there are not many splices over here, but let's just start that, and immediately you can see on the screen it's finding all the places. It's going through the nodes and saying, okay, this is a splice location. The two elements are coming in, and they're parallel to each other, and they're columns or beams or whatever, and they're aligned as well. So this is a splice location, and it's just gone in and done the splices for you in a second. So that's extremely powerful. Let's select the whole building again, and go to the Intelli-Connect menu, and do the truss connections, for example. The truss connections usually take quite a lot of time, so let me just go through those quickly. In the background, you can see what it's doing. This is taking a bit longer. And the reason why they're taking a bit longer than usual is because, by usual I mean from the previous releases, that at this point they're also creating the design reports in the background, which you can then access later on. So some of you who have been using the program might notice a slight reduction in speed over here, but that's because of the production of design reports in the background. So here again, we see the connections over here, which have been made. And let's just flip the building around and see. There you go. It's chosen the welded connection over the bolted connection, depending on certain parameters, which I don't want to go into right now. You can customize that. Obviously, trusses are connected with a welded gusset, not with a bolted gusset. That's very customizable. But it was so easy. I just selected the whole building and just press. Now I want to do something else. Now I want to let's come to some of the very difficult connections, which are really a huge problem. Let's go in there, and I want to go zoom in so that you can see some of the stuff. Hopefully, yeah, maybe you can see it. I'm just going to select this part of the building and do the floor beams. And the reason why I've zoomed in is because I want to show you a feature which is important. I'm going to do the floor beams, And I'm going to say use the stiffen end plate connection for the beams. And for the horizontal braces, I wanted to use the corner bolted gusset or the bolted gusset, depending on what it can. Or let's use the bolted gusset first, and then the corner bolted gusset. Let's use it the other way around. Yeah. These are some details that I want right now. But what I want to show you is just going to take this window to the side a bit, and I want you to focus on this part of the screen. And hopefully, if you really strain your eyes, you can see some of the horizontal braces moving, because what's going to happen is it will not be able to connect them directly. It will connect the beam, and then when it connects the horizontal bracing, there'll be a clash. So in some cases, it will need to move the horizontal braces a bit, to shift them a bit, and that's what no other program does at the moment. So I'm just pressing run. Now just focus on the screen, and hopefully you will see some motion. I know it's difficult to see with the low resolution you might be getting, but you can see some of the stuff moving around. I can see it, but I hope you can see it as well. But those are the horizontal braces which are moving. It's trying to move and trying to create a connection which doesn't clash with the other connection. And that's a huge feature, because that is something which I've spent a lot of time in my youth working with steel detailing, and I know from personal experience that connecting these floors is a breeze when you have no horizontal bracing. But once you have horizontal bracing, it takes a lot of time, because each angle of approach and each brace's situation is different, and you have to decide whether you can shift or not, whether it's possible to shift or not, and how much you need to shift. And getting all that done by the program is something which is amazing. So if I zoom in over there, you can see it has shifted this because it was clashing with the stiffen end plate over there. And this kind of versatility and this kind of intelligence is extremely useful, because it will save you days at times. Even when you're dealing with a small floor. It'll save you a lot of hours. Now I want to show you the final part of the connection, which is the column node, which I talked about. Which, if you remember, I talked about this particular point, which is a column with the beam coming in from the fixed side and two beams coming in from the hinged side, and a vertical bracing coming in as well. Those are the really difficult prospects. In fact, if I don't have much time, so I will, instead of doing the whole building, or I just want to show you, I'll just do it over here. Select this area over here and right click and say Intelli-Connect and do the column beam connection. And I tell it to use the haunch connection for the fixed side, and I tell it to use the stiffen end plate from the hinged side. And the vertical bracing is going to be done by the corner bolted gusset automatically. And I just tell it to connect. Now, as you can see, it has automatically created the haunch. It's created the haunch with the middle stiffener as well, because it knows it's going to need the middle stiffener for the other side. So it's created the haunch. It's created the middle stiffener, and let's rotate. And it's created this stiffen end plate connection. It's created the other stiffen end plate connection from the other side, and it has also used the top stiffener as a corner limiting object for the vertical brace. Now this is a very complicated point, and I need to emphasize this as much as I can, because those who have done steel detailing will know that these kinds of joints are very difficult to model. But with Intelli-Connect technology, and even without it, like I showed you manually as well, you can do these things manually. But I know there's a learning curve, and I know some people will be terrified of that. So I'm just telling you that with the Intelli-Connect feature, the learning curve is shortened immensely in many ways. And that's what I wanted to show you with the Intelli-Connect feature. Now, I want to just quickly show you these. Let me just quickly go to another short thing, and then we move on. Which is this is a little building which I just made, and I'm just going to choose the first floor over there, this floor over there, and I'm going to say make the floor beam connections, and I'm going to use I'm not going to use the stair, I'm going to use the fin plate connection. and I'm going to use the corner bolted gusset connection with the fin plate, or if not possible, then the bolted gusset connection. And I just tell it to run for the first floor only. Now, the reason why I'm showing this to you is because I want to then show you another feature, which is the copying feature. Once you're satisfied with a particular floor, and if other floors are similar, the same, or even if they're slightly different, what you can do is you can make a floor and then copy it to the other floors, and it will automatically find which parts of the floor match and which don't, and it will connect those which match and it will leave those which don't. And this will basically save you a lot, because 100% similarity is not required. It doesn't need to be exactly the same. It will automatically go and find similar situations on the other floors. So let's just quickly see what I'm talking about over here. I just connected this floor using Intelli-Connect. Let me just open up the visibility of the plates and bolts and macro symbols so that they're visible. Yeah, there you go. So the floor has been connected, as you can see. The floor has been connected, but now what I want to do is I want to just quickly move to the side over here and select this area, select the macros. There are 135 connections, and I want to say that you just try to copy yourself up to the next floor. So I say copy, and there's a 4,000. There's a distance of about 4 meters from here to here. And the other floor could have been a bit different, but I'm just telling it to copy. Let's say copy, and it will go and it will find whether you have exactly the same situation in the new floor as well or not. And if you do, it will copy the connection to that point as well. There you go. As simple as that. And we have the second floor completed as well. So that was just one feature I wanted to talk about because I think it's important. And now I want to move on to something else, which is the connection details. Yeah. So most of the companies which are consulting companies, they need this feature primarily, not the fabricators. But what they need is they're producing connection drawings. So as they're connecting a particular joint, as they want to produce a drawing of that joint in a drawing, and then pass it on to the fabricator so that the fabricator can then do the rest of the model and produce the shop drawings. So they produce a base plate, for example, and they produce a splice, for example, or they produce, for example, a column joint where you have some stiffen end plate and vertical bracing connections. These are some of the connections I've done as an example. So what we have in ProtaSteel, what I want to talk about today, are these little boxes you see on the screen. See this box on the screen? This one, this one, this one. These boxes are intelligent, and what they do is when you go to the drawing, they will appear as details. You can limit the scope, you can limit the size. So for example, if you see all these boxes are primarily they have the red and the green and the blue, right? So there's the red. So there's the red, there's the green, and there's the blue. It's like the red, the RGB system. Red gives you the X direction, green gives you the Y direction, and blue gives you the Z direction. You can view any part of the model from these three directions, and you can from any general direction as well. That's separate, and you can view them from both sides. So you can view from the positive X direction and from the negative X direction if you want. This is the negative X direction. You can view from the positive Y direction, and if you want, from the negative Y direction as well, or from the positive Z direction, or not, or from both sides. That's completely up to you. And once you decide how you want to view it, you can even add a 3D view to it. And then this box which you've created, once you produce the drawing of this facade, for example, once you produce this drawing of this facade, see these boxes detailed out on the side, and this is what we're going to be talking about today. So the creation of these boxes is extremely easy. Let me just quickly go through one of them. All you do is, for example, let me just make another one so that I do it from scratch, and then that'll become easily understandable. So let's say I just want to produce a box around this space plate over here. So all I need to do is basically just select this area, basically the parts which I want in the connection, not the incoming main parts. just the parts which I want to show as part of the connection. And I press this little thing over here, this little button over here, and I give it a name. I give it a name, and I say add. And when I add this, now these parts have been added to the test object. And then I say select objects, and now I add basically the column, which is going to be the secondary member. It's a main member, but for the connection, it's a secondary member. And I press right click. And the moment I press right click, a box is created. And now this box can be used. I can make this box bigger. I can make it smaller. I can add more elements to it. I can add viewing directions. I can add a 3D view. But it's as simple as that. I did it in like half a minute. So you can create as many boxes as you want. And once you're done with the boxes, what you can do is you can just go to the drawing side, and which I'll do in a minute, and create these drawings. So let me go to the drawing side, and let me show you. First of all, let me show you a 3D view of the building, which might take a bit because it's fully detailed, but it shouldn't be that long. Yeah, there you go. So over here you see this is a full hidden line view with the bolts and the welds. You can create these views. You can make them part of your reports. You can make them if you're producing shop drawings. Then obviously you'll be, or fabrication drawings or general arrangement drawings. Then these will obviously be needed. But now let me take you to the other drawing which I promised, which is the one related to the boxes. So here I've done something. This is the facade I was showing you, and as you can see in general, first let me see all the connections are here. The gird connections, the bracing connections. Here you see the truss connections. You can give different. You can give the dimensions. You can give the levels. The girds have been dimensioned as well. But what I want to show you right now is these three circles. This circle and this circle and this circle over here. These three circles came from those boxes. They haven't been labeled yet. I'll show you a command in a second. These three circles, because any box you which enters into this drawing will come up as a circle. It won't come up as a box. It'll come up as a circle. And then once they're there, all you need to do is you go to this same tool on this side, and you load the default settings, and you just press the button. You press the button, and what happens is, in a few seconds, the boxes which are shown you over there, they are created, and you can see all the main members, all the bolts, all the welds have been annotated from the views which I wanted. So I told it which view I wanted: the front view, the back view, the left view, the right view, whatever 3D view. I could have done any of those, and they're all annotated over here. So this like maybe about 70–80% of your connection. Maybe you need to add a few dimensions. The only thing which it doesn't do at this point is add the dimensions. It does give you the thicknesses of the plates. It does give you the size and the number of the bolts. But if you want to add a dimension over there, then you'll need to add that manually at this point, and we're working on it, and hopefully we will get some sort of feature on that later on. But the dimensions need to be added manually, but the annotations, the elements themselves, and the views, all those will come from the program automatically. So this will be a huge feature, hopefully, for the consulting companies, because all you need to do now is just quickly finish your work in ProtaStructure, go to transfer the model to ProtaSteel, go ahead with the detailing. As you just saw, it's a breeze. You just click on everything, and you just basically click on everything, and that's all there is. And you find that difficult, then you use Intelli-Connect whenever you can, and you finish the modeling. And once the modeling is finished, you create these little boxes around whatever locations you want to highlight or emphasize to the fabricator, and you produce these general arrangement drawings, and these little boxes then turn into details. This is extremely useful. This is something I wanted to show you, and I'll just move on from here at this point. What I want to show you now is, and I'm going to go through that very quickly because I want to leave a few minutes for questions if need be, which is the production of shop drawings. Now, obviously, the consulting companies might think that we are not into the production of into the business of producing shop drawings, but they can be. it's not forbidden. They can be, and they can make money out of it, because obviously they're going to pay the fabricators, or somebody's going to pay the fabricators. The client is going to pay the fabricator. So and the fabricator is going to charge the client, but you already have the model. The consulting company already has the model. The consultancy company already has the detailed model. If you think about it, the consultancy company, just like I showed you, has Intelli-Connect now, so they can quickly building off and then produce the shop drawings. Are the shop drawings just as easy to produce? Yes. You don't produce them manually. The shop drawings are produced completely automatically. All you need to do is just say, you select a truss, for example, you say, you right click, you say create drawing, and you say create the assembly drawing. That's as simple as that. Or you can select the whole building and right click and say create drawings, assembly drawings. There you go. All your trusses, all your beams, all your whatever purlins, girts, columns, they will be modeled and they will be connected. So let me just show you something over here, for example, before I continue with that. Let me just put a, yeah, maybe I can show you this column over here. If I just show you this column, if I show a highlight assembly and I show only, yeah. So this is a column. This is the column fabricated, and I can produce the shop drawing of this column directly on the go over here. You can view it on the screen just to see if anything is missing, and that's a very quick way. But now I want to just take you to the shop drawing feature. So like I said, all you need to do is just select, right click, and say produce the drawings, and it will be as simple as that. I don't want to waste too much time on that, so I'm just going to go and open the existing one. So let's see. This is the drawing of the haunch of the beam with the haunch, I think. Yeah, there you go. So if you zoom in, you can see we have the fully detailed haunch beam drawing with the stiffen end plate connections on both sides. It's fully dimensioned. There's no dimensioning needed. All the single parts are also added. Obviously, this is optional. You can have the single parts in there, or you can have them separately as A4 sheets. You have your material lists. These are all customizable, by the way. Not necessarily what you get. You can customize these things, and they're pretty customizable. And you can change the dimension properties. You can change the colors. You can change the sizes. You can decide whether you want to show the welds or not. The scales, and it's a very comprehensive tool with which you can produce your shop drawings. Let me show you an even more difficult one, something which most programs find almost impossible to deal with, and they are trusses. If you've worked with trusses in other programs, you will have noticed that detailing the truss, creating the assembly drawing of a truss is one of the most difficult. It has to be almost completely redone by hand, because what the program gives you is basically a mess. But over here, this is the truss which we modeled over there. Just look at this. Just look at this detailing over there. It's extremely accurate. It's extremely useful. This can be used directly in hundreds of projects in Turkey. You just send this to the fabricator, and they just produce the drawings. They just produce the steel. So this is another feature which I wanted to talk about. And like I said, the part drawings are also producible. The assembly drawings are also producible. The general arrangement drawings are also producible. And once you're through the learning curve, which is hopefully not much, and we can help you with that. We can help you with the training if need be. But once you're through with that, you should have a tool in your hands which is going to reduce your man hours by hopefully several fold. So what you did in a month, you could probably do in 10 days, hopefully. And that's a lot to say for a tool like this. Now, obviously, I could not go over a lot of features. I could not. It's a very powerful program, the very best. And while what I've showed you is simple, but in reality, it can handle some of the most complex of situations. Because what I haven't shown you is the manual detailing feature, which basically you can completely detail your structure entirely by hand as well. You can create the most complicated connection, and there'll be you're not limited to the macros. The macros will help you do it extremely fast, The Intelli-Connect feature will help you do it extremely fast. But if you're dealing with very large scale projects, if you're dealing with very complicated projects, if you're dealing with very prestigious projects, you will end up with something which is not available in the macro list. Eventually, that just has to be. That's my experience. That the macros will always work for the mainstream kind of steel detailing, but when it comes to very specialized structures, you will need manual detailing. And once again, ProtaSteel does not leave you midway. You can complete the whole thing with manual detailing, and that's extremely fast as well. Obviously, we can't go into that. You can create manual macros. You can save them away for later use. You can share them between models. You can share them between teams. You can export to AutoCAD. There's a smooth integration with Tekla. There's smooth integration with IFC related platforms, which is industry foundation classes. So what you have in ProtaSteel is not something that's going to stay in ProtaSteel. You can give it to other people, and they can continue working with it as well. You can give it to the fabricator, for example, and the fabricator might be working with Xsteel or Tekla, and they can just continue because you can give them the whole model as such. There's a fully functional CAD package, which I didn't mention, but you don't need to use AutoCAD with this. You can produce the entire drawings within it. So let me just finish this, the live demonstration over here, and let's continue with the webinar. So ProtaSteel, what I showed you was Intelli-Connect, the wide range of simple moment, splice and welded connections. Consider constructability, adjusts connection arrangements to suit Intelli-Connect, which as I showed you, the moving horizontal braces, all the additional ancillary steel work. I showed you the handrails and the floors and those kinds of things. Intelligent presets, I didn't talk about them much because of lack of time, but you can basically, once you set up your company standards, you can just click away to infinity. You will not need to come back and enter any, usually in most cases, you will not need to enter much in your macros, and you should be doing that, the intelligent presets. Automated design reports I talked about, the greens and the yellows and the reds. Like I said, right now we have all the floor beam connections, all the beam to column simple connections, all the beam to column fixed connections, the base plates, the vertical bracing, horizontal bracing, bolted connections, the truss connections, the splices. So basically everything is in there except for some minor sag rod connections which you don't want anyways. But connection needs are already in there. So you will save a lot of money by using and time, obviously, by using ProtaSteel. You can produce detailed drawings of your projects. I just showed you those, the general arrangement drawings, the connection drawings. Those are extremely useful. You can create fabrication details, I just showed you as well. And you can produce NC data as well. So that is a lot. And once you're done with it, it doesn't stay with you. You can share your model with other people. You can share it through IFC. You can share it through the Tekla exchange format we have. You can share it with Allplan, etc. Basically anything which works with an IFC. ProtaSteel works with IFC, so there you go. So that's what I wanted to say. And the Proto advantage, exceptional value. If I just want to summarize, the Proto advantages, if you see other solutions, they're all over the place in the sense that first of all, they're selling everything separately. So even if you say that, well, they have this tool, you're going to pay extra for it. But as far as building design, drawing management, a full DWG drafting capability, component design, full RC quantities and schedules are concerned, automatic steel connection design, which we talked about today, steel detailing, which we talked about today, shop drawings and quantities, which we talked about today, and collaboration with BIM, everything in one package. That's something you will not find elsewhere, and that's something which we want to emphasize, because it's not going to only save you money, time. It's also going to save you money because you'll not be paying for a million different softwares. Everything will be included in the ProtaStructure suite. So we hope you liked what we covered today. We are a leader in the BIM technology, investing significantly. And what I want to mention is, please stay tuned for our other seminars coming up, and add these dates to your calendar. And especially something very exciting is coming up on the 24th. Definitely add that to your calendars. I hope you liked what you saw today, and I hope we can deliver other things which you will like even more in the future. Thank you. And what I want to say is now that you can note these emails, and we thank you for your continued support. Please continue to contact us through your local support channel with questions. We love to hear from you. And we have some very special offers for Proto Structures right now. So if you contact us, you will not be disappointed. So that's it, I guess. Thank you everyone for being here and for attending the webinar. I hope you liked it, and we'll be giving lots more in the future.